The massive Narration ship hovered above Earth's atmosphere, its dark hull reflecting no light. Inside, Admiral Tay walked the gleaming command center, watching his crew work with silent efficiency. The view screens displayed the blue planet below, teeming with life and activity. Curious, Admiral Tay said, studying the data streams. These humans have nuclear capabilities but haven't expanded beyond their moon. They wage wars among themselves yet maintain global communication networks. Science Officer June approached with a tablet. Admiral, our analysis suggests they're in technological adolescence. Advanced enough to be troublesome, but not advanced enough to threaten us. Any unified planetary defense? Asked Admiral Tay. None, replied June. Their nations maintain separate military forces. Some cooperate, others compete. They would be unable to coordinate against an external threat. Admiral Tay nodded, his 6 fingers tapping against the command console. The Narration Empire had conquered 17 star systems following the same pattern: identify divided worlds, demonstrate overwhelming force, and accept their submission. Earth would be no different. Prepare the diplomatic vessel, he ordered. Standard first contact protocols. 3 days later, the smaller Narration ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing on a neutral site in Switzerland agreed upon through radio communications. Global media broadcast the event to billions of watching humans. Ambassador Hyun led the delegation, flanked by guards in ceremonial armor that concealed advanced weaponry. The Narration physiology, tall, slender bodies with pale blue skin and large eyes, caused a stir among the human observers. A delegation of human representatives waited on a red carpet. Dr. Park, a calm woman with short black hair, stepped forward as Earth's primary spokesperson. Welcome to Earth, she said, bowing slightly. We are honored by your visit. Ambassador Hyun performed the formal greeting gesture of his species, placing his 6-fingered hand against his chest. The Narration Empire acknowledges your world. We bring greetings from Emperor Mook, ruler of 17 systems. The formal introductions continued inside a hastily constructed meeting facility. Once seated at the round table, Ambassador Hyun activated a small device that projected a 3-dimensional map of nearby star systems. The Narration Empire spans this region, he explained, as several star systems glowed purple. We have brought peace, technology, and prosperity to all worlds under our protection. Dr. Park studied the map carefully. And what brings you to Earth specifically? Ambassador Hyun's thin lips formed what passed for a smile in his species. We monitor developing worlds. Yours has reached a stage where interaction benefits both parties. Benefits how? Asked Dr. Park. The ambassador's voice took on a harder edge. Your world suffers from division, conflict, and environmental degradation. The Empire offers unity, advanced technology, and ecological restoration. He paused. In exchange for acceptance of imperial authority and reasonable resource access. The room grew quiet. The human delegates exchanged glances. To be clear, said Dr. Park, you're suggesting we surrender our sovereignty? Surrender mischaracterizes our offer, replied Ambassador Hyun. We propose elevation. Your people would gain access to space travel, medical advances, and energy technologies beyond your current capabilities. Dr. Park maintained her composed expression. And if we prefer independence? The ambassador's tone remained pleasant, but his eyes hardened. History shows isolated worlds eventually self-destruct or collapse into barbarism. The Empire prevents such waste. A military general in the human delegation whispered something to Dr. Park, who nodded slightly. Ambassador Hyun, she said, we appreciate your interest in Earth and your offer. We request time to consult with our governments. Of course, the ambassador replied. However, be aware that the benefits of imperial integration decrease with delay. Some privileges are only extended to worlds that recognize opportunity quickly. As the meeting concluded, Ambassador Hyun added casually, we have observed that humans value freedom. Remember that true freedom comes from security and advancement, which the Empire guarantees. Dr. Park walked the delegation back to their ship. At the boarding ramp, she paused. Ambassador, your empire sounds impressive. But I should mention something about humans. Her voice remained gentle, but her eyes were steel. We don't respond well to threats, however diplomatically phrased. If you're studying our history, you might note that humans unite quickly when facing external pressure. The ambassador blinked slowly. That wasn't a threat, Dr. Park. Merely a statement of fact. As was mine, she replied. Safe journey back to your ship. As the Nalarian vessel rose into the sky, Admiral Tay received the ambassador's report with satisfaction. Another world would soon join their collection. Yet something in the human response nagged at him, a calmness that seemed out of place for a species about to be conquered. Supreme Commander Wook stood before the large viewscreen on the Nalarian command ship, watching recordings of human military exercises. His four-member advisory council sat behind him at a crescent-shaped table. Their weapons are primitive, he said, gesturing at footage of Earth's most advanced fighter jets. Chemical propellants, basic radar systems, rudimentary energy shields. Nothing that could penetrate our weakest defenses. Intelligence Director Oon shifted in her seat. True, Commander, but their tactical approaches show unusual creativity. Creativity? Wook turned with a dismissive wave. What good is creativity against technology 5 centuries more advanced? It's not just their military that concerns me, Oon continued. Their communication patterns have changed since our arrival. Global cooperation has increased by 40%. Former enemy nations are sharing technology and resources. Wook frowned. A temporary alliance born of fear. It will fracture once we apply pressure. The door slid open and Ambassador Hyun entered the chamber. He looked troubled as he took his seat at the council table. The humans have responded to our integration proposal, he announced. They have declined. Silence filled the room. The Nalarians exchanged glances. This had happened only twice before in their expansion history. They decline? Wook's voice was quiet with disbelief. Do they understand what they're refusing? They understand, said Hyun. But they've made a counter-proposal. They invoke the ancient challenge protocol. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. The challenge protocol was a ceremonial tradition dating back to the founding of the Nalarian Empire, a series of competitions that could be requested by worlds facing integration. It had not been invoked in 300 years. How do they even know about the protocol? Demanded Wook. We made no mention of it. Intelligence Director Oon looked uncomfortable. They may have accessed some of our cultural data during the diplomatic exchange. Our security detected unusual scanning patterns but found no breach. Wook struck the table with his fist. This is outrageous. They seek to delay the inevitable. Strategic Advisor Min spoke up. The ancient laws are clear. If challenged, we must comply or forfeit our claim entirely. Then we comply, said Wook firmly. And crush them in every contest. Prepare the formal acceptance. 3 days later, representatives from both sides met at a temporary facility constructed on Earth's moon. The stark landscape of gray dust stretched around them, with the blue Earth hanging in the black sky. Admiral Kim led the human delegation. Tall and composed in her white uniform, she showed no sign of intimidation as she faced Wook across the table. We accept your invocation of the challenge protocol, Wook announced. As is traditional, there will be 3 contests: military strategy, technological innovation, and cultural exchange. Admiral Kim nodded. We have selected our representatives. For military strategy, I will lead. For technology, Dr. Lee will represent Earth. For cultural exchange, Cultural Attaché Song will participate. The military challenge will be a simulated battle using our advanced war modeling systems, explained Wook. The technology challenge requires each side to improve the other's existing systems. The cultural exchange must demonstrate values worthy of galactic preservation. Understood, Admiral Kim replied. We request one modification to standard rules. Wook's eyes narrowed. What modification? The challenges should occur simultaneously, not sequentially. This will prevent either side from adapting between contests. The Nilarians conferred quietly. This was unusual but not forbidden by the protocol. We accept, Wook finally said. The challenges begin in 7 Earth days. Prepare yourselves. As the humans departed, Wook turned to Ambassador Hyun. This is merely ceremonial. The outcome is certain. Perhaps, Hyun replied. Yet I sense something unusual about these humans. They show no fear. Because they don't understand what they face, said Wook. Their confidence comes from ignorance. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim met with the Global Security Council in an underground facility. The Nilarians agreed to simultaneous challenges, she reported. They believe we requested this to prevent them from adapting between contests. And the real reason? Asked a council member. Dr. Lee smiled. The Nilarians communicate on quantum channels we can access only briefly before they detect intrusion. Simultaneous challenges will overload their systems, giving us more access time. Admiral Kim nodded. They think we're primitive because we don't match their technology. But technology isn't everything. Cultural attaché Song added, they've conquered 17 worlds using the same approach. They're predictable. And predictability is a weakness we can exploit. What if we lose? Asked another council member. We won't, said Admiral Kim, looking at each person around the table. Because unlike the Nilarians, we know something important about challenges. What's that? Asked the council head. Admiral Kim's expression hardened. When the stakes are survival, humans become something else entirely. The Nilarians are about to learn this lesson. Captain Day's hands moved rapidly over the tactical display as he tried to track the human fleet's movements. The simulation had been running for only 20 minutes, but sweat already beaded on his blue skin. This is impossible, he muttered as another formation of human ships executed a maneuver his tactical computer flagged as invalid. They can't turn at those speeds. Their crews would be crushed. Behind him, Supreme Commander Wook watched with growing concern. The simulation battle was not proceeding as expected. The human ships, led by Admiral Kim, were moving in patterns that defied standard tactical doctrine. They're separating their fleet, observed Strategic Advisor Min, a basic error. We should easily destroy them in detail. But when the Nilarian forces moved to engage the isolated human ships, they discovered the trap. The human vessels had used the planet's magnetic field to mask their energy signatures, creating the illusion of separation while actually preparing an ambush. Recalibrate sensors, ordered Captain Day. They're using our own scanning frequencies to feed us false data. Wook stepped forward. How did they analyze our sensor technology so quickly? It should take years to understand the principles. On the main display, red lights flashed as simulated Nilarian vessels were destroyed by the human counterattack. Admiral Kim's forces had somehow predicted exactly how the Nilarians would respond and prepared accordingly. Simulation paused, announced the computer. Human victory condition achieved. The room fell silent. This had never happened before. Across the lunar facility, in the Technology Challenge arena, Dr. Lee stood before a panel of Nilarian engineers. On the table between them sat a standard Nilarian shield generator, a device centuries beyond Earth's technology. Your task was to improve our shielding system, said Chief Engineer Jean. You had 6 hours to study it. Please demonstrate your results. Dr. Lee nodded and activated the modified device. Holographic displays showed energy efficiency readings as the shield formed. Jin's eyes widened. This shows a 40% improvement in power consumption. How? Your system uses quantum-linked particles to distribute energy, explained Dr. Lee. But they're arranged in a fixed matrix. We reconfigured the pattern to be adaptive based on incoming force vectors. But the mathematical principles behind such adaptations would require a different approach to quantum mechanics, finished Dr. Lee. Yes. We thought of it last night. The Nilarian engineers exchanged troubled glances. It had taken their civilization 300 years to develop quantum shield technology. The humans had improved it after 6 hours of study. In the Cultural Exchange Dome, the most shocking revelations were unfolding. Cultural attaché Song had brought samples of human art, music, and literature. Now, a small orchestra played a piece by Beethoven while images of Earth's natural wonders were projected on the walls. Cultural Officer Du, a veteran of 17 planetary integrations, found himself unable to maintain his professional detachment. The music struck emotional resonances he had never experienced, despite centuries of exposure to alien cultures. How can the mathematical arrangement of sounds create this feeling? He asked, his voice unsteady. Song smiled gently. Music speaks to something beyond mathematics. We call it the soul. Soul, repeated Du. We have no word for this concept. Perhaps that's why you conquer instead of connect, suggested Song. Your technology seeks efficiency. Our art seeks meaning. When cultural specialist Sook entered the dome, she found something unprecedented: Nilarian officers sitting motionless, tears streaming down their blue faces as they listened to human music and viewed images of Earth's diverse ecosystems. What have you done to them? She demanded. Nothing, replied Song. We simply shared our humanity. That evening, the Nilarian Leadership Council gathered in emergency session. The data from all 3 challenges was troubling. They shouldn't be able to adapt so quickly, insisted Wook. Our psychological profiles indicated they would approach problems sequentially, like all developing species. Intelligence Director Un looked grave. It appears those profiles were wrong. Humans think differently. They make intuitive leaps our logic can't follow. The military challenge revealed tactical flexibility we've never encountered, reported Captain Day. They don't follow rules of engagement, they rewrite them. And their technological adaptation is almost instantaneous, added Chief Engineer Jean. They don't just learn our systems, they improve them. Most disturbing was Cultural Officer Du's report. Their art forms bypass our cognitive defenses. They've weaponized emotion itself. Weaponized emotion, scoffed Wook. That's absurd. Is it? Asked Ambassador Hyun quietly. 3 of our cultural officers requested reassignment after exposure to human music. They claim they can no longer support the concept of forced integration. A heavy silence fell over the council chamber. Finally, Wook spoke, his voice low. We must accelerate our timeline. Change the parameters of the challenges. The ancient protocol allows for adjustments between phases. The humans will protest, warned Hyun. Let them, said Wook. We underestimated them once. We will not do so again. Supreme Commander Wook's voice echoed through the command chamber as he addressed the Nilarian Council. The new challenge parameters are set. We've increased the difficulty by a factor of 10. No species at their development stage could possibly. Commander, interrupted Intelligence Director Un, her voice tense. The humans have already submitted their response to our changes. Wook froze. That's not possible. We just transmitted the modifications 20 minutes ago. Nevertheless, Un continued, they've not only accepted the new parameters but have submitted counter-proposals that are technically valid under the ancient protocol. The council members exchanged troubled glances. Something was wrong. The humans were responding too quickly, as if they had anticipated every Nilarian move. How? Demanded Wook. How are they doing this? The door to the chamber slid open, and a Nilarian scientist entered. Yoon was younger than most senior staff, her posture lacking the rigid formality typical of their species. Commander, I must speak with you immediately, she said without the customary greeting. Scientist Yoon, this is a closed council session, Wook replied sternly. What I have to say cannot wait. Yoon's voice trembled slightly. The humans have compromised our systems. Silence fell over the room. Explain, ordered Wook. I discovered unusual patterns in our quantum communication network, said Yoon. At first, I thought it was system degradation, but then I realized they're listening to us. They've somehow reverse-engineered our communication systems. Impossible, stated Chief Engineer Gene. Our technology is centuries beyond theirs. Is it? Asked Yoon. Or have we simply assumed that because it's always been true of species we've encountered before? Before anyone could respond, a message alert sounded. The main screen activated to show Admiral Kim's face. Greetings, Commander Wook, she said calmly. I thought we should speak directly about the challenge modifications. Wook's composure faltered momentarily. How did you access this secure channel? Admiral Kim smiled slightly. The same way we've been monitoring your planning sessions. Your quantum communications have predictable fluctuation patterns when viewed from a nonlinear perspective. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Wook silenced them with a gesture. You admit to espionage, he demanded. We admit to adaptation, corrected Admiral Kim. Just as you admitted to changing the rules mid-contest. The difference is, we anticipated your move. Scientist Yoon stepped forward. Commander, I've analyzed their approach. They didn't hack our systems through technological superiority, they simply found a conceptual gap in our thinking. They're approaching quantum mechanics from an entirely different framework. Wook's face darkened with anger. This challenge is over. Your violations have forfeit. I wouldn't finish that statement, Commander, interrupted Admiral Kim. The ancient protocol specifically allows for adaptive information gathering. Check Article 7, Subsection 3. The Nalarian Council members quickly consulted their data tablets. Ambassador Hyun looked up first, his expression grave. She's correct, Commander. There is no violation. Wook's fists clenched. This changes nothing. The Emperor has been informed of the situation. He is coming personally to resolve this matter. For the first time, Admiral Kim's confidence seemed to waver. The Emperor himself? Yes, said Wook with satisfaction. Emperor Mook will arrive within 2 of your Earth days. Perhaps you should reconsider your position before then. The transmission ended. Wook turned to the Council with renewed confidence. The humans may have surprised us, but they cannot stand against the Imperial fleet. Scientist Yoon looked troubled. Commander, there's something else you should know. The humans aren't just listening to our communications. They've begun speaking our language. Many species learn basic phrases, dismissed Wook. Not basic phrases, said Yoon. I intercepted transmissions between their command centers. They're speaking High Nalarian, including the mathematical harmonics impossible for non-Nalarian vocal structures. The implications stunned the Council into silence. High Nalarian was not just a language but a complex mathematical communication system that had evolved with Nalarian physiology over thousands of years. 2 days later, the massive Imperial flagship emerged from hyperspace near Earth's moon. Emperor Mook, ruler of 17 star systems, had not left the Nalarian homeworld in over 50 years. His presence underscored the severity of the situation. As the Emperor's shuttle landed at the lunar facility, Wook and his council waited in formation. The Emperor, tall even by Nalarian standards, emerged surrounded by his personal guard. Report, he commanded simply. Wook began explaining the unexpected developments when a human delegation approached. To everyone's shock, Dr. Park stepped forward and addressed the Emperor directly, in perfect High Nalarian, complete with the subtle tonal harmonics that conveyed respect while maintaining dignity. Greetings, Emperor Mook, she said. Earth welcomes you and seeks peaceful resolution to our current disagreement. The Emperor's normally impassive face showed rare surprise. You speak the Imperial tongue? We believed direct communication would avoid misunderstandings, replied Dr. Park. The Emperor turned to Wook. You did not mention this development. It was unexpected, admitted Wook. As is much about humanity, we've found, said Dr. Park. Perhaps that suggests a different approach than conquest is warranted? The Emperor studied the human delegation with new interest. Perhaps it does. Emperor Mook stood in the observation chamber of his flagship, looking down at Earth through the massive viewport. The blue planet rotated slowly, clouds swirling over continents and oceans. Behind him, Supreme Commander Wook waited silently. "You believe this is still a winnable conflict?" asked the Emperor, not turning from the view. "Absolutely, Your Eminence," replied Wook. "Despite their unexpected adaptations, our military power vastly exceeds theirs. One command from you, and their major cities will be reduced to ash." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. "And yet you failed in the challenges." "Technical difficulties," insisted Wook. "The humans somehow understood our technology, our tactics, and our psychology better than we understood theirs," finished the Emperor. "A disturbing trend." The Emperor turned, his ancient eyes studying Wook's face. "I have ruled for 300 years, Commander. In that time, we have integrated 17 worlds into our empire. Never once have I encountered a species that adapted so quickly. Which is why we must act now," urged Wook. "Before they adapt further." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Prepare the fleet. We will end this quickly." Within hours, 500 Nilarian warships moved into position around Earth. The Emperor's ultimatum was broadcast globally: surrender or face destruction. The human response came not as a transmission, but as action. As the Nilarian fleet prepared to fire, their targeting systems suddenly failed. Communications between ships cut out. Power fluctuations rippled through the fleet. "What's happening?" demanded Wook in the flagship's command center. "Unknown, Commander," reported Captain Day. "Something is interfering with our systems." Then, impossibly, human ships appeared. Not near Earth, where the Nilarian fleet was positioned, but at 3 Nilarian colony worlds light-years away. Somehow, they had developed or stolen faster-than-light technology. The images on the command screen showed human vessels hovering over major Nilarian cities on the colonies of Taris, Mara, and Velkan. Planets that should have been impossible for humans to even locate, let alone reach. A transmission came through on all channels. Admiral Kim's face appeared on screen. "Emperor Mook," she said calmly. "As you can see, your colonies are currently under our protection. We have no desire to harm your people, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." The Emperor stepped forward. "How did you achieve this? You had no faster-than-light capability 2 weeks ago." "We observed the principles in your ship engines during the technology challenge," explained Admiral Kim. "Your approach relies on stable quantum tunneling. We found a way to create temporary, directional tunnels using less energy." Scientist Yoon, who had been analyzing the data, looked up in shock. "They're right. They've created a completely different approach to faster-than-light travel. One that might actually be more efficient than ours." The Emperor's expression remained composed, but his voice betrayed his disbelief. "In 2 weeks, you reverse-engineered technology that took my civilization 2,000 years to develop?" "We don't think like you do," said Admiral Kim simply. "Where you see one path, we see many possibilities. Where you seek perfection along a single route, we explore countless imperfect solutions until we find one that works." The command center fell silent as the implications became clear. The Nilarian Empire had always conquered through superior technology and methodical expansion. They had never encountered a species that could leap forward so rapidly. "What do you want?" asked the Emperor finally. "The same thing we wanted from the beginning," replied Admiral Kim. "To be left in peace, to determine our own future." The Emperor considered this. "And if I refuse? If I order the destruction of your world regardless of the consequences to our colonies? Then we would regretfully demonstrate our other adaptations," said Admiral Kim. "Including the fact that we've identified the quantum frequency of your collective consciousness network." Gasps echoed through the command center. The consciousness network was the Nilarians' most closely guarded secret, the technology that linked their species mentally across vast distances. "How could you possibly know about that?" whispered the Emperor. "Your cultural officer, experienced human music and art," explained Admiral Kim. The emotional resonance briefly opened his connection to the network. "We detected the pattern. We don't wish to disrupt it, but we could. The Emperor turned to his advisors, who looked as shocked as he felt. The humans had found their greatest vulnerability, one they had believed impossible for any non-Nilarian to discover. 3 days later, in a ceremony broadcast across Earth and the Nilarian Empire, Emperor Mook and Dr. Park signed the Treaty of Luna. It established boundaries between their territories and, more importantly, created a framework for cultural and technological exchange. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history, announced Dr. Park. Not conquest, but cooperation. As the Emperor added his signature to the document, he spoke quietly to Dr. Park. In 3,000 years, no species has ever turned back a Nilarian integration. Dr. Park smiled. Perhaps that's because you never met humans before. Across the 17 worlds of the Nilarian Empire, subject species watched the broadcast with growing hope. If humans could stand against the Nilarians as equals, perhaps they could too. And among the stars, word began to spread of the unusual species called humans who turned an invasion into an alliance, and changed the course of galactic history forever.